Picture this. London, early 2025. A city that never sleeps, powered by an intricate web of electricity. But what happens when a critical node in that web suddenly fails? Today, we're diving into the dramatic events of the Great Heathrow Substation fire, an incident that brought one of the world's busiest travel hubs to its knees and sent shockwaves through the UK's power grid. This wasn't just a fire. It was a wake-up call, a story of chaos, resilience, and the hidden vulnerabilities of our modern world. It all started on a cold, crisp morning. The West London Substation, a massive facility just a few miles from Heathrow Airport, was the unsung hero of the region. It's one of those huge, humming industrial sites you drive past without a second thought. But this place was a powerhouse. Literally, it stepped down high-voltage electricity from the national grid, preparing it for distribution to millions of homes, businesses, and, most critically, Heathrow Airport. Think of it as the heart of the electrical system for the entire area. Without it, the lights go out. And that's exactly what happened. The first reports came in just before dawn. A flicker, a surge, and then nothing. Eyewitnesses living nearby described a low, guttural hum, followed by a series of loud bangs that sounded like explosions. Soon after, the sky to the west of London began to glow an eerie, pulsating orange. The West London Substation was on fire. And this wasn't just a small electrical fire. It was a full-blown inferno. The main culprit. Transformers! These colossal metal boxers, each the size of a small truck, are filled with thousands of gallons of mineral oil for cooling. When one overheats and fails catastrophically, that oil can ignite, creating a blaze that is incredibly intense and difficult to extinguish. The London Fire Brigade was on the scene within minutes, but they faced an immense challenge. You can't just spray water on a high-voltage electrical fire. It's a recipe for disaster. Specialist teams had to be called in. They used foam and dry chemicals to suppress the flames, a painstaking and dangerous process. Meanwhile, the fire was raging, consuming critical equipment and sending thick plumes of black smoke billowing into the sky, visible 4 miles around. The immediate priority was to contain the blaze and prevent it from spreading to other parts of the substation, which could have triggered a cascading failure across the entire London power network. It was a race against time. While firefighters battled the flames, the domino effect was already beginning. Heathrow Airport, the UK's aviation giant, was plunged into darkness. Terminal lights flickered and died. Baggage carousels ground to a halt. The electronic display boards, which thousands of passengers rely on, went blank. The airport's backup generators kicked in, but they're designed to power only essential systems like emergency lighting and air traffic control. They couldn't possibly run an entire airport city. The result was controlled chaos. Check-in desks were paralyzed. Security gates couldn't operate. Thousands of passengers were suddenly stranded, with no information and no idea when they might be able to fly. The impact radiated outwards. The London Underground's Piccadilly line, the main artery connecting central London to Heathrow, experienced severe disruptions due to power outages at stations. Roads around the airport became gridlocked as people tried to leave or get to the airport, creating a perfect storm of travel misery. Inside the terminals, staff did their best with flashlights and megaphones, but the situation was overwhelming. It was a stark reminder of how utterly dependent our modern infrastructure is on a constant, uninterrupted flow of electricity. One fire in one location had managed to sever a vital link in the global travel network. As the day wore on, the scale of the crisis became clear. Hundreds of flights were cancelled. Planes were diverted to other airports across the UK and even into mainland Europe. The economic cost was staggering, running into tens of millions of pounds for every hour the airport was crippled. But beyond the financial numbers was the human story. Families separated, business deals missed, long-awaited holidays ruined. The airport terminals transformed into makeshift dormitories, filled with a sea of frustrated and exhausted travelers. The fire wasn't just a technical problem. It was a full-blown humanitarian issue unfolding in real time. So, how did the authorities respond? A national emergency was declared. The government's COBRA Committee, the Emergency Response Group, was convened. Top engineers from the national grid were airlifted to the site to assess the damage and More importantly, to figure out how to get the power back on. This is where the story shifts from chaos to ingenuity. Restoring power wasn't as simple as flipping a switch. The substation was a wreck. Key components were melted beyond recognition. The plan had to be creative. Engineers began the Herculean task of rerouting power. Think of it like a massive traffic diversion, but with electricity. They had to bypass the destroyed substation, using other parts of the grid to feed power back into the affected area. This involved physically reconfiguring connections, bringing in mobile transformers, and coordinating with power stations across the country to manage the delicate balance of supply and demand. It was an incredibly complex operation, performed under immense pressure. Every decision had to be perfect to avoid causing further blackouts. It was a testament to the skill and dedication of the engineers who work behind the scenes to keep our lights on every day. Slowly, painstakingly, power began to be restored, first to critical infrastructure, then gradually to the surrounding homes and businesses. After nearly 24 hours of near-total paralysis, Heathrow began to show signs of life. Terminal lights flickered back on. The hum of the baggage systems returned. But the airport was far from normal. The backlog of flights was enormous. It would take days, even weeks, to clear the backlog and get schedules back to normal. The incident had left a deep scar. In the aftermath, the big questions began. How could this have happened? Was the substation adequately protected? Was our national infrastructure too vulnerable? Investigations revealed that a chain of events led to the disaster. An initial component failure, perhaps due to age or a manufacturing defect, triggered a short circuit. This caused a cascade of failures in the protective systems that were supposed to isolate the fault. Essentially, the safety net had failed, allowing a small problem to escalate into a catastrophic fire. The Great Heathrow Substation Fire of 2025 became a watershed moment for the UK's energy sector. It led to a massive review of the entire national grid. Hundreds of millions of pounds were invested in upgrading and reinforcing substations across the country. New fire suppression technologies were installed, and safety protocols were completely The incident highlighted the concept of single points of failure, critical assets where one failure can have disproportionately large consequences. The goal became building more resilience and redundancy into the system, so that if one part fails, others can seamlessly take over. This event also accelerated the push towards a more decentralized power grid. The idea is to move away from relying on a few massive power stations and substations, and instead have a network of smaller, localized power sources, like solar farms, wind turbines, and battery storage facilities. A decentralized grid is inherently more resilient. If one part goes down, it doesn't take an entire region with it. The Heathrow fire showed, in dramatic fashion, why this transition is not just an environmental goal, but a matter of national security. So, what are the key takeaways from this near disaster? First, it's a powerful reminder of the fragility of the systems that underpin our modern lives. We take electricity for granted, but the infrastructure that delivers it is complex and vulnerable. Second, it highlights the incredible importance of the unseen heroes, the engineers, the firefighters, the emergency planners, who work tirelessly to keep our world running, and who spring into action when things go wrong. Their response to the Heathrow fire was a masterclass in crisis management. And finally, it serves as a lesson for the future. As we become more electrified, with electric cars, heat pumps, and data centers, the demand on our grid will only grow. We must invest in making it smarter, stronger, and more resilient to prevent a crisis like the Heathrow fire from ever happening again. The orange glow that lit up the London sky in 2025 was a warning we couldn't afford to ignore. Thanks for watching. If you found this story fascinating, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the events that shape our world. Let us know in the comments what you think. Could a similar event happen where you live? Stay safe, and see you in the next video.